So during the week, I had some troubles logging into a website, and I had to call IT. Like I had to call the website IT to get logged in because my login wasn't working, but it wasn't necessarily like a situation where it was like, oh, I need to just reset my password. It's like, no, your password works. Your password works everywhere, but like when you try to log into this part of the website, it doesn't work. Okay. It doesn't make any sense. So it's like, okay, cool. I'll call the admin or whatever it is, right?
Right.
So I call him, and they got it fixed. But there's a couple little things that just like they said that just made me go like, what? And it was I think your password's too complicated. And I'm like,
what?
Are you saying like it's like I'm using characters that aren't supported or something? And he's like, I don't know what your password is, but do you know what it is? I'm like, well, no, I use a password generator. He's like, I don't trust those. I mean, you can't remember them.
Okay,
like, you have to write them down.
For those listening, I am in complete disbelief that this guy in IT is saying the words, I don't trust those. Are you insane?
He's like, no, you don't ever know what it is. You can't remember it. You have to write it down somewhere. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Oh, that's the whole point. Like, I didn't know how to even say that. I was at a loss for words.
I would be at a loss for words.
What?
That's insanity.
Yeah. I'm like, no, you gotta, it's a good thing. And he's like, well, I mean, if you don't have a device there that doesn't like, you log in because you don't have the device to log in to figure out what your password is. And if you have to like sign into a device that doesn't have it, it's a pain in the butt to like type in like your complicated password and stuff. And I'm like,
you're saying all the right things. You're saying all the benefits.
I'm like, these are all the
good things.
These are positives.
Right.
These are things that I want out of my password manager.
Exactly.
Make it difficult for people to log in that aren't me? Great. Awesome. Make it difficult for people to try to guess my password? Awesome.
Like, if you don't have your device and somebody else has your device and they're able to log in because it's a simple password, well, that's just the breaks, kid. Like, that's what he's saying to you. Like, no. Like, there should be no breaks. Like, that shouldn't even be a thing. Like, ironically, there is one password that you have to remember, and that's your master password.
Yeah,
right.
And it should be complicated, and the one that you stick in your brain like it's tattooed inside the inside of your skull.
Yeah, and in fact, I would go as far as saying, for those of you who do have like memory, like callback memory issues, and you just can't remember a line of complete randomness, tattoos on the inner side of your arm are really hip these days. Just have it as like an anagram or something. Like, I remember.
Then that password gets leaked, and it's just a stupid password now at that point on your.
Like, oh god darn it!
No, and here's the thing: is this isn't an ad for any specific like password manager or anything like that. This is not any of that. It's just honestly me ranting, because it's like, how do you get to be a sysadmin and believe these things?
I mean, I know there's a certain demographic that gets on the internet, has multiple websites, and the only way that they can remember the password is by buying one of those booklets called the Password Keeper, and it's a physical book, and you keep it in your armoire or you keep it in your safe or something. I mean, if you keep it in your safe, it's probably okay, but like, that's your methodology of remembering all your passwords. But the problem is a lot of the passwords you're remembering are just one digit off, different from the other password. And to think that nobody in their right mind would ever do that, that's the wrong kind of thinking. You have to be cynical with your passwords. 1,000%. If you at all think that, oh, there's no possible reason someone would ever think that I'm putting my parents' anniversary instead of my own anniversary. No. Are you serious? Like, you don't think that they'll just think of any possible connection of a date? Because it's only 1,000 years worth for a computer to just like brute force their way into like 1990 03, okay, 04, nope, 05, all the way to 99. They're gonna get at least one part of it, and then the other half, it's not your dog, but it's your neighbor's cat, and you shared on Instagram multiple times how you love the cat Fluffy. There we go. So, yeah, that's just amazing that he that he was like that. I can't believe that.
It was an adventure, man. He was the kindest person. Got my account fixed and everything, but just it blew my mind.
Now, the follow-up question on how he got your account working, did he have to reset your password?
Well, that was one of his guesses as to what the issue was, is the password was too complicated. And I asked him, I was like, "Oh, do you mean like if I was using non-keyboard characters or something like that?"
Right. Like the
like,
carrot
no.
or something.
Yeah. Well, not even like the carrot, but like actual like non-keyboard characters. So non-keyboard characters, ones that you have to like the little over the E and stuff like that, where you have to hold Alt and type in like 432 in order to get the character to appear.
Okay.
Yeah. Though that's the stuff I'm talking about, is like stuff that you literally don't have a button for. And he's like, "No, it's just like super like overly complicated, and our system I don't think understands it that well." That's what he says. He's like, "I don't think it understands it that well." Not like a minute later, he's like, "Yeah, our website's supporting like something like, I think he said like 10 languages now." And I'm like, if your website is fully supportive of 10 languages, native, there should be no issue here. Like, unless I'm using like non-keyboard characters for Koreans that aren't like, when you look at them, it looks like to me and you like, "Oh, that looks like Korean lettering," and someone in Korea like is like, "No, that's all bullshit."
Right.
Like, that's the only thing I can think of at that point that shouldn't work. Everything else should work natively.
Are you using emojis? Maybe you're using emojis.
There we go. Half of my
password
is actual emojis. I don't even know if that works, but that's a great idea.
But past the password thing, they were able to figure it out. Was there just some sort of like handshake?
Yeah, there was
not happening.
Well, there was there's an SSO issue that there was one part of the website where I was in one time zone, the other part of the website where I was in another time zone, and like it was weird, but they got it fixed. But yeah, it was just I can't get over it. How do you get that far?
So kind of piggybacking off the different time zone thing. Weird thing. So I use Microsoft Outlook, the website, for my email and my calendar, and I have it connected to my iPhone. No problems there whatsoever. I put my work schedule in there. I put my, whenever my daughter comes over and we're doing something, just to have a full schedule. And when I look at it, there is absolutely no issues whatsoever. But when I go in to edit an item, it, for whatever reason, puts it into like the central time zone. I have no idea. Like the time difference is calculated properly. So if I'm trying to do something at noon Pacific time, Central time is 2. And let's just say, for example, today, and I think today, we're supposed to go pick up some stuff for Girl Scouts for her at noon. I went to go into that event to add the address where we're going to go pick up her Girl Scout stuff. And when I looked at the time, it said 2 p.m. I'm like, no. So I changed it to noon. And then I go back to my default calendar and it says, okay, we're doing it at 10. What? No. Don't do it at 10. So I changed it back. And then I figured out, oh, that's the time zone shift that it's happening. I have no idea why it's happening. I mean, at least it's letting me edit it, and it's not.
Open my Outlook and see if it's doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, and it happens sometimes in the Outlook app on iOS. It happens on Outlook.com, but it doesn't ever happen in the Inbox app, the native calendar app on Windows 10. It keeps it within the Pacific time zone. So
okay.
Yeah. So if you're talking about time zone handshakes here, somebody's slapping someone else's hand away and saying, "No, we're the dominant time zone." And like, and when I move to Utah, like it's gonna get even more crazy. So I don't know. I have no solution to this if this were to ever happen to anybody, except I guess, yeah, you're gonna have to call IT, because it definitely sounds like it's something on their end that's just not that's getting cached and just not getting cleared out, and it's holding like an like some sort of instance literally in time, and it's just not forgetting it. Although for you haven't traveled anywhere in ages, so I don't know why you would choose any other time zone for any reason, for that matter.
I'm trying to find anything in Outlook that does that. The only thing I can find is like the event with you for our podcast. It says it was originally created in Pacific time and it's been adjusted to reflect my time zone. So maybe somewhere on the back end, your time zone is set to Central, and maybe you need to switch it, like more account based than something on your computer.
Well, you say that, actually, that does bode a good point, because when I put in, because I also like to put in the flight times of when I'm taking a flight, of when I depart and then arrive, and if the arrival time is at within a different time zone, I like to reflect that so it looks correct on my calendar. And I guess maybe for whatever reason, when I set it to Central, because we did land in Louisiana, it never set it back, which is dumb.
Sounds like a keyboard to chair interface error.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That was from me to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can only imagine. My daughter turned 9 this past week. And speaking of past week, if you're wondering what happened with our release schedule, like why episode 112 came out so late, it doesn't matter. It's out. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy it. But the fact of the matter is, my daughter turned 9. She had her birthday at her mother's house. Her mother's boyfriend had the brilliant idea of getting, what are they called? Oh my God, not drippers.
Misters?
Misters, thank you. They went out and bought misters and basically retroactively looped the misters throughout some tents that they had owned or rented. I don't know. And so if we went outside in the over 100-degree weather, it was at least manageable because there were misters. I thought that was phenomenal. But that's not the topic of my story. The topic of my story is presents. When is it okay for you to open your presents? Is it before the cake or is it after the cake? And I want to hear from your point of view, because to me, you open the presents after the cake, because some people are really there for the spectacle of you blowing out the candles, and whether you like or dislike the presents, it doesn't matter. They got to go off and do their own thing because they have their own lives and their own family. But I do know some people say that part of the tradition is you got to sit there and watch this kid open presents that you're never ever going to be able to play with. They're not your presents. And then you got to wait until you can have cake. So I want to ask you what I know you don't have kids, but if you ever go to a kid's party, what order of operations would you prefer? Or what did you grow up with?
I'm trying to think, I'm trying to think in my, even just my most recent birthday where I had people over or something, what was the order of operations then? I want to say it was presents then cake.
Okay.
But I can see, like, I can see why both directions would be fine, especially depending on the age. Like, if it's a younger person, not necessarily this is the only option, but like, it might be better to do cake then presents, because then it's like, cool, you're gonna watch this other kid get all these presents and stuff, like you were saying, like all these things that you're never gonna get because this isn't about you,
Right.
but at least you have like some cake in front of you, and it's yummy, and it's sending endorphins and all that kind of stuff because
Right.
sugar, and yay,
Yeah,
and
it's like waking you
distracting
back up.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
okay, this is good. I get something too. I get a slice of cake. And you're not just sitting there like, hurry up, like, let's get to the thing where let's get to the group activity.
Right.
Like, but I can also see where it's like, cool, got my cake, I'm out, I'm see you later, you can open my present whenever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't see that happening as much, but yeah, I don't know. I personally, I think it can go either way.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't super matter. I think in the past, I've also seen it where presents are opened as everyone's kind of finishing dinner. Like, if the time frame allows, the birthday person finishes their food first, and it's like, cool, you're already done, so why don't you open presents while everybody else is finishing up?
Right.
Just so everyone's not just literally sitting there.
Just sitting there. Right. So
what did you grow up with?
I grew up, well, I don't remember ever having parties at my house. So it was always somewhere, whether it be a park, a bowling alley, ice skate rink or something
Strip
like that.
club, we get it.
What?
Strip club, we get it.
I don't know what a drip club is.
Strip club?
Oh, strip club. Okay.
Strip club, we get it.
All right. Sorry, Discord just made that joke fall really flat. And
oh man, Discord. We're not. Oh man,
we're gonna keep that in, and yeah, but no, when I was younger, it was always at a place. So the thing is, at a place, you have a time limit. You have like a 2-hour, maybe 3-hour time limit to be in that room because they have another party after you. So you don't really have time to meander or have time to open up presents because the establishment has to push you out. So when I was younger, I never opened up presents in front of the people. We always did it at home. And then my mother did the long monotonous thing of marking down what everybody got me, and then we would print out not a database, but we would create a database on the computer. This is where I learned what databases are. And we put the name. We would then type in their present and then import those fields into a letter as if I wrote the whole letter with their name and their gift and say, hey, Quinnton, thank you very much for the Super Soaker. I appreciate it. Hey, Char, thank you very much for the G.I. Joe. I appreciate it. And so on and so forth. So that's what we did for my birthday. But again, the opening of presents was always done like at my house. And it was just really because of time limit. Now that, I'm older and we don't necessarily have to worry about that all that much. Also, especially right now, because of certain things, we're not necessarily fully going out to do all the things with everybody else. So I'm okay with opening up presents after. But I feel like the opening up presents opens up two different things that you're telling your guests, which is, hey, if you want to stick around, that's cool. But this is your opening to leave as well, too, because it's no longer going to be about, hey, let's try to keep you entertained. It is now the parents are going to go full bore into interacting with the child, making sure that, they're not ripping up money that comes in the envelope by accident, or something to that effect. And so that's when it's like, okay, hey, thanks for coming. I appreciate. We're gonna open up presents. Do you want? You don't have to say, but we're gonna do that now. I'll put it on YouTube. Yeah, I'll put it on YouTube. Yeah, we'll give you a shout out. Don't worry about it. High five. Like that's when I feel, especially like you said, age appropriate. I think that's when it's okay.
Yeah, because it's like nowadays, I want to see you open my gift. I picked this out specially for you. You telling me I don't get to see your reaction? Like I took the time.
I think nowadays
to get you that $5 Target gift card.
Yes, thank you very much for the $5 Target gift card that went so far at Target.
Thank you, Tony, for your insert gift here. It was very much appreciated. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And I put so much effort into this form letter. No, the idea of opening up gifts now as an adult in front of the other adults, I think, is kind of a throwback to when you were a kid. I think as a kid, you wanted to open up the gifts in front of other people, unless you were an introvert. If you were somewhat of an extrovert, you wanted to have that narcissistic, like, check out the gifts that I'm getting. So now that we're adults and we have our own disposable income and we have friends that love us and they've gone out of their way to buy, maybe the smallest of gifts, the fact that we understand where each other are coming from, the limits of that disposable income. If you put so much effort and work into buying that really silly gift for me that bounces off of some sort of inside joke that we have, yes, I want you to see my reaction when I open up that gift. So I as an adult, I think it is expected and fully okay to open up gifts at the end of dinner in front of your other adult friends. I think as a teenager, not so much, because what are you getting as a teenager? You're getting maybe gift cards and a bunch of money. That's no.
The only teenager real birthday party that I had, I asked people to bring me money to buy an iPod.
Oh,
and they did.
So you just flat out said, hey, if you're gonna come and you're gonna buy me something, don't just give me the cash.
Well, I said, like, help me. I said something in the
you did basically
like,
a GoFundMe before GoFundMe was a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, hey, help me get an iPod.
Help me get an iPod.
And I got one. I got a 32 gig iPod Gen 3 or something like that. iPod Touch.
Oh, a Touch. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I never owned a Touch.
Yeah, it was the one. It was the first one with voice commands, man.
Oh.
You could tell it to skip songs and tell it to play certain things if it like recognized like the exact wording and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I remember when I was talking so much about the iPod Touch because I was such an Android fanboy that anybody that came into my store when I used to sell cell phones and like, I want something like the iPhone. I'm like, you're going to get something better than the iPhone. It's like, oh, well, I also had this, what do I do with my old iPhone? Because, at the time, only AT&T had the iPhone. It's like, oh, well, you can just use it like an iPod Touch. I mean, because that's basically what an iPod Touch is. It's an iPhone without the telephonic capability for some stupid reason. It's such a dumb idea, isn't it? It's a great idea. But, me and my salesman shoes, I had to, kind of throw some shade over to Apple. Fast forward, 10 years later, I've got an iPhone 11 Max and I love it. So people can change, I guess. But I
was expecting more of a like, what can I do with this? You can send it.
Toss it off a bridge. No, the one iPod that I did own was the iPod Shuffle. And it was the circular one, not the rectangular one. It was the circular one. Well, I guess they're both kind of rectangle. But anyways, the controls were circular. And I thought it was the best thing in the world because I don't need this giant, because I had a Razr flip phone at the time. So I already had like something in my pocket. And so having a small device that would allow me to listen to my music and just clip it onto like my lapel or wherever I clipped it, I felt, and I'm in San Francisco, so you got to look hipster. You got to look cool. I felt amongst my people. I felt so cool. And then I dropped it in a drain when I was trying to go catch a bus. And I said,
"Oh no!"
And for some strange reason, this makes no sense. I said, and this is why I would never buy anything else Apple. Because my own stupid mistake doing a bunny hop with my scooter. Yes, I had a scooter. Again, hipster. Get it? Yuppie. I did a stupid bunny hop onto, that one. Exactly. Yes. I did a stupid bunny hop onto the sidewalk. It was very cool. No tail whip. I don't need that. I don't need flare. I landed it, and when I landed it, it jostled the iPod Shuffle off of my jacket or whatever, and it landed in the gutter, and there was no way to get it. But that, because of all of the things that I did, not wrong, but it's my fault, I blamed Apple, and I would never buy anything Apple.
Man, I had the exact same one. People like who aren't just listening, I'm literally holding my very first iPod, which is the same Gen 2 iPod Shuffle. And like, this made me know what like a quality MP3 player was, because this was like my fifth MP3 player. And like this thing went through so much. Like it fell off my jacket into the spokes of my bike and flew off into traffic. It fell into barbecue sauce. It got buried in the sand one time. Like it went through so much, and like it still works to this day. It looks beat to hell.
Yeah.
And it still works.
Now, question, did you get yours engraved?
No. I actually won mine on my first job.
Okay.
Yeah, my very first job.
Was that the call center?
No, I worked at the amusement park.
Oh, over
Lagoon.
at Lagoon. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at you.
No, they had like a employee appreciation for those who are good employees thing. Like it wasn't like everyone. It was like you have to be kind of like the better employees in order to do it. And I won I won an iPod.
When you were at Lagoon and you won employee appreciation of the month or whatever, what did you do to earn that? Because I'm not trying to talk down to anybody that works at an amusement park, but there are so many jobs. So many departments.
So the way they did it was like each department at the end, towards the end of the season, picked, I think, a scaling model of like, okay, you're a smaller department, you pick 2 people. You're a huge department, you pick 8 people. You're a medium department, you pick 6 people. You're a gargantuan, you pick 20. I don't know.
Okay,
but you pick a scalable amount of people from each department of how, like, okay, pick the people that have like showed up for work, showed up on time, stuck it out through the season, like actually shown like effort and stuff like that. And then we'll take all of these people and invite them to come during closed hours and come enjoy like some pulled pork sandwiches and like prizes and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, because, and it's funny how you say the iPod Shuffle was the first example of quality, high quality, like not just MP3 engineering, but like electronics engineering. Because I know for me, I was running off of like an iRiver or a SanDisk MP3, and those are super plasticky, and they're throwawayable. Like they're such garbage, and you know this because they're only like maybe $79, but they hold way more songs than the iPod Touch did. They're bigger, but as someone who's struggles to own their own stuff and they can't necessarily get the best of the best. It seems to be a better option, but then it just falls flat and it crashes or whatever. I'd say the big disadvantage that you get with the iPods is that you have to deal with iTunes, and I hated iTunes. Like, for me personally, iTunes like never worked. It just,
I mean,
like,
iTunes to this day is still rough.
oh yeah, to this day it's just, I'm surprised people still use it. In fact, like, in our day job, because we do aid in sales with computers, one of the things I bring up sometimes is, especially if they have like an iPhone, I'll let them know like they can install their most used programs, and sometimes depending on where the conversation goes, I'll bring up like, hey, do you still use iTunes for whatever reason? And sometimes I'll get a yes. I'm like, okay, so can you actually tell me, what do you actually use iTunes for? Because I can never get it working for me. And I would say 80% of the time, everything that they're using it for can be done with iCloud or some other certain, other cloud services. And
oh, for sure. I mean, even one of the people that like QAs the podcast, he syncs through iTunes because I think his family doesn't like the cloud, doesn't 100% trust it, and so they have him sync through iTunes to back up and restore.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that one boggles my mind because I'm like, I'm too lazy for that nowadays. Like, having the ability of automatic backup nightly, and then if it has issues, it'll tell me and be like, hey, you haven't backed up for like 2 days.
Right.
Warning. You're like, yes, please. So, like, I don't use iTunes to the point where like I will go to, Apple finally launched a website a while back that like you can go listen to your own music on the web, which is just music. I think it's music.apple.com or something like that. Apple.music.com, something like that.
Music.apple.
Music.apple.
Yeah.
I just listen to my stuff through there when we're playing like Age of Empires and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because when we were playing Age of Empires the other day, and you said that you were using the website, I was trying to remember in my head if they had released the ability for you to listen to your own music, but I guess that's the case. This segues into another thing that I want to ask you. When you're talking to people, and I don't mean at work, I just mean people, and they say something like, I don't trust the cloud. My initial response to that is, do you go onto the internet for anything? And of course they say yes. And then my response to that is, well, that's the cloud. Is that wrong? Am I misleading them? Or
no,
is that
I think you're on the right page. I try, especially when we're not talking about work, I try not to launch into Mr. Soapbox, as I'm sure you try to as well.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, do you really want to get in this conversation with me? Because I definitely, not definitely, but I more than likely have more information than you do, and it's not going to be a fun conversation because I will have a counterpoint to all your points because I'm slightly trained for this conversation.
Right.
Do you really want to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that happen a couple times where they're insistent and they're like, no, this is horrible. And it's like, okay, that's your opinion. No, I think anyone who trusts it is an idiot. And it's like, okay, so we're doing this.
This is happening.
Yeah, you just gotta have to prep for it. You're like, okay.
Side note, I like how we're both in tank tops. Yeah. No, it's hot out, man. No, I think I get where the fear comes into play. I don't get where the separation comes into play, though. It's people like, oh yeah, no, I have my email, I do online banking, and I do, I have social media, but I will never back up my photos and videos to the cloud. That's just so insecure. I'm like, okay, so you realize banks get hacked all the time. Social media goes down all the time due to DDoS and possible, other infringements on their servers. Like everything that you're doing has the possibility of getting leaked. Your email is like the number one. That's like where they go.
Yeah.
I don't understand where the conversation took a left turn at Albuquerque, and like email and all the normal stuff that everybody uses online, and then the cloud are like two things on the same street, but they're in opposite directions of each other. Like, no, they're on the same street. This is all Cloud Street. Now, how they're implemented is different. Yes, it is different, but they're still based off of the same thing, which are servers. And servers are as insecure or as secure as the one next to it. And the best thing that you can do is, circling back to what Quinnton was doing at the beginning of this episode, is having an unrememberable, unrecognizable password. And then that goes into a whole other conversation. And I've ruined dinner. Stuff, yeah. Nobody wants to eat dessert.
Yeah.
Everyone.
No, it's
and then no one wants to open
like
up presents. It's just weird.
It's 100% that situation though, where you're just like, I don't want to launch into this conversation because I promise I have a lot of information, and I really don't want to do this right now, and I'm sure you don't want to do this right now, but it seems like you kind of do because you feel like you're gonna have this place to stand on. I get that a lot.
At what point do you
Xbox
bow out?
well.
Yeah, at what point do you just, because I feel like, especially if it's family, they know where you work. Or even if you don't work in a place like that, they know what you're into.
Yeah. The last time, I think I brought this up on the podcast, but the last time I had that kind of instance was somebody that was like egging me on about Xbox, actually. And funny enough, I have a lot of information about Xbox, and I actually got to the point where I was like, I don't think you want to have this conversation with me. Like, I just flat out told the guy,
oh, okay,
I don't think you want to do this.
Yeah.
And he's like, why? And he starts saying all these like random like things about Xbox that were not true. Like saying that the Xbox in its current state needs to always be connected to the internet.
No.
And to the point where somebody else, one of my close friends, actually said, like, told him, like, hey, you don't want to do this. You will lose. Like, straight up told it, because he was kind of like the middleman of, like, I'm this guy's friend, I'm Quinton's friend.
Gotcha.
And that was the gap.
That's
but
that's how the connection is.
He's the bridge. Yeah. But he's saying, he's like, you don't want to do this. And the dude still persisted. So we finally had the conversation, and I got to the point where people laughed at him.
Oh no.
It was, I wouldn't say anything mean, but I just kind of flipped all of his points to the point where it was like, bro, you're saying things that aren't even true. So what, like, you're standing on this soapbox that doesn't exist.
Right.
It was bad. Yeah, no, I tried to, like, I will get to that point though of like, I don't think you want to have this conversation. I will just fourth wall break 100% and just be like, I don't think you actually want to do this.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, conversations like that, like when it comes to technology, I feel like my family has enough trust in me that if they do bring something up, that I'm going to be as diplomatic without putting them down to say, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but these are the reasons why those opinions are unfounded. This is the research. This is the reality. And this is how you as a user can benefit from what you're dealing with. I love having those conversations because we're not doing troubleshooting. I'm not trying to fix your computer without having a computer. That's impossible. but it's also not something like politics where nobody trusts anything, right?
Right.
Like when it gets into the political conversation and someone says, oh, well, our current president, when he did this 20 years ago, he had the opposite stance.
He had Swiss cheese instead of American cheese, and that's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like for example, what's going on in Cuba right now. And at the time of recording this, I know there's like civil unrest, and all that we'll say is, everybody be safe. It's terrible what's going on right now, and I hope they get it sorted out. But I know that our current president, President Biden, his staff basically said, we support not protests altogether, but we support, peaceful protests, and we support the voices of the people and hope that it's heard. And then, somebody else comes out of the woodwork and says, yeah, but, 20 years ago, you said this about Castro and this about, communism. And then that's getting lifted up in Twitter. And it's like, okay, but we need to look at the facts. Like, but the facts are blurred. I'm like, okay, no one trusts anybody. Can we go and talk about Xbox versus PlayStation? Because at least there...
Yeah. Can we go back to that?
Yeah, at least there we have, like, facts. At least there are things that are concrete. Do we have God of War? No, we do not. But we do have Halo Infinite coming out. Did Halo Infinite have a great demo a year ago? No, it did not. But the demo that we saw this year was freaking fantastic. Like we can have those kinds of conversations about exclusivity versus all the games that you would want at one monthly price. Like that's a conversation, because those are just irrefutable, never going to change facts. And I'm okay with that. But when it gets into the political realm, where I myself don't have all the facts, I don't want to jump into it and have a conversation between red and blue and go off what I kind of heard and kind of read.
That's honestly the worst, is those conversations where like they want to engage with you. They want to talk about it because they know some sort of tidbit, whether they know a lot or not, but you have no information. I've gotten to the point where I've flat out said, look, I don't know anything about this topic. I'd rather not talk about it until I do my research.
Yeah.
And they're like, but I can tell you all about it. Oh, don't worry. And I'm like, no, that's okay. No, I'm good. Like I have just gotten to the point where again, fourth wall break, no diplomacy or anything. I'm just like, I'm good. No, like just flat out. Like,
yeah,
I'm not trying to beat around the bush anymore. I'm just
right.
like, no.
I mean, the rules are you don't bring up religion or politics at the dinner table. Fine. And I feel like if you're around a fire, or just like sitting in the living room,
I think you just need to cut off the last part. You just don't bring up that stuff. You like, no.
I think in a look, it's gonna be brought
in
up
the right setting. Yes,
setting, right? Like, if it's brought up in the right setting. But
that's the thing, is most of the settings don't exist. We have 10 settings. 9 of them, I guarantee you, are inappropriate. There's probably one setting that it's appropriate that's like, hey, this is the time we can talk about it. 9 out of 10 times, though, shut up.
I think, like for example, if we, when we ever get to be around a campfire again in Utah, and I don't feel any of us have completely like diametrically different viewpoints from a political point of view, but I feel like I am in a safe space with you guys. And if we are able to set aside the screaming and yelling and going like off Tony, having the jovial banter that we have, and we can have an actual conversation about, I wonder if this is actually really good for our country. like gun control, for example. Like I might have a very different viewpoint of gun control than our friend Tron does, and not to say I don't like guns, I love guns, but I think guns should be a little bit more controlled. And he might have a different viewpoint of how they should be controlled. And I think he and I, because of we do realize we do have very diametrically different like solid viewpoints, but we're open to hear each other out. I think that's the big thing. Like, not enough people are open to accepting somebody else's opinion as opinion versus just yelling at each other until it gets ingrained into the other person that they are stupid and shouldn't think the way that they think. I feel like that's where it takes like a really like sharp turn where it just falls apart. So I think the setting can be in more places than you might think. I think it's the approach, right? The approach creates the setting as well too. So the approach, as long as you're not talking down or being condescending, which is the same thing, as long as you're not on that soapbox and just saying your piece and not being open to other people's opinion and other people's facts, like irrefutable facts, if as long as you're not doing that, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think the other thing to think about is like how diverse is your opinion from the other person? Because it's like if you're, fairly like you might have like one or two topics that are different, and like you'd like to get some engaging, like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Like I think you could maybe open up a few more of those, like 9 out of 10. Maybe you could move it to like 7 out of 10. You got a couple more places where it's appropriate. But like as you get more and more like, oh, we are polar opposites,
mm-hmm.
then it starts being less and less and less of like, this is not a conversation you really want to get into with this person right now.
Yeah.
And I think the other issue that I run into is people like to slide in things like that into regular conversation. Like we'll be talking about, oh man, I really am like pushing for this pay raise. Yeah, pay is a real big problem right now. I mean, no one's got those jobs. I mean, and then all of a sudden we're talking about minimum wage and like the issues there, and it's like, hey, whoa, that was not the conversation. But then it's like really annoying because they're just like spewing their opinion at you, and you're just like it's so hard to just like, hey, I need you to stop.
I just wanted affirmation that you think I should get a pay raise too. I didn't think we were gonna go talk about minimum wage and how the middle class America is being shrunk. Like I didn't want to get into that. I don't even have facts myself. So could you just say I should get a pay raise so I feel better? That's all I wanted.
I'm not looking for this big huge thing. Can we chill?
Yeah. And like we say every time, we're not going to solve this in a podcast. And we're on most things, especially political things, we're probably pretty uneducated. Yeah.
So take everything we say with a grain of salt, please.
Yeah, definitely. However, if you yourself that are listening or watching, or if you're here live on Twitch, twitch.tv/LazyTechTony, if you have your own approach and it seems to work to either not crush, but like halt a conversation at a party that you think shouldn't be happening, what do you do? What do you do to crush it and then to like move on? Because I know a lot of people like they'll use comedy as a way to like get out of it and like hopefully move the conversation onto something else instead of doing the breaking the fourth wall and saying, nope, I'm done. Because I think that's a very bold move that you're doing. I try to take the comedic approach as much of a comedian that I am not. I try to take that approach and move it to something else. And like, what about that airline food? Just, or something, and just, yeah. And hopefully get them onto a topic that we can both agree on and get back onto similar footing. Like, hey, we're here to have fun. We're enjoying the fire. We're enjoying this birthday party. Let's not get into this right now. Like, let's never get into this because we're never going to agree with each other. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up a pod deck. If you guys don't know, pod decks are decks of cards, and this is green, hence the green screen. But these are decks of cards that have conversation starters, and we have either the interview deck or the would you rather deck. So, Quinnton, which one do you want to pull from?
Oh, interview. The would you rather just makes me mad.
They have a bunch of decks and brand new decks that are available now. So if you go to poddex.com/stillrecording or use our coupon code stillrecording or coupon code lazy, you'll be able to get 10% off your decks and your purchases. So
I've asked to be murdered to the front to back or murdered back to front. Neither. I choose the gun. That's murder. Son of a.
This is an interesting one. I don't know if we've ever done this, but if you were to die tomorrow, what little thing would you regret not doing?
Wiping my hard drive. No. What little thing would I regret not doing?
What little thing would you regret not doing? And for those that are watching live right now, if you're available, go ahead and let us know in the chat. What little, if you were to die tomorrow, what little thing would you regret not doing?
Little thing.
You get up there to heaven or wherever, and you're like, oh my God, I left the gas on. Or like, what, like what little thing?
Not going out to eat.
Not
honestly, that's the only an easy answer. Like, I feel like it's pretty cookie cutter, but like
that is pretty cookie cutter. What do you mean not like going out to eat?
Well, it's like we're saving money right now and stuff, and like trying to eat at home. And like if I died tomorrow, I'd be like, like I'm upset that I didn't go out to eat. Like I'm not gonna take the guess of like, well, I'm gonna go out to eat because I might die tomorrow.
Right,
and it's
right,
like, well,
that's
probably why you died.
Yeah.
But no, it'd be like, I could have gone and had like some nice, like, I don't know, a really good, takeout meal or something.
Yeah. I guess for me, like, I don't know if this would necessarily be called a little thing. But there's a ropes course close by me, and they have like this zip line thing, and I would like to be able to do that, and I feel like of little things that I would regret, I consider that to be a little thing, because it's not top of mind, it's not at the top of the list, it's not really even on the list, because I could probably do ropes course over anywhere. But that's, for me, that's kind of one of those things. But like, big things, I wish that I would have, been able to spend more time. I mean, with my daughter is one thing, but also spend more time with my old stepson, Franklin, who is now, oh my God, he's 17 now? Jeez, yeah, he's 17. He's a senior in high school now. It's gross.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like just to confirm, when he starts school this season, it will be going into his senior year.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. That's the same with our good friends Max and Hadley.
Frick yeah.
You're already a Utah. Look at that.
Well, folks, thank you so much for watching and or listening. We do record these podcasts live on Twitch, twitch.tv/LazyTechTony, every other Monday, if time permits. And I believe at least in a couple of Mondays, time is not going to permit, because that's when we're going to start moving. And we'll let you know when we're going to skip that week. But if you want to continue keeping in contact with us and whatnot, you can join the Discord. Or you can follow us on Instagram, Still Recording Podcast on Instagram. If you want to follow us individually, Quinnton, where can people follow you?
On Instagram and Xbox at Firewall.
You guys find me those places under Lazy Tech Tony. And until the next time, have a great couple of weeks. You guys take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Heart.